I like Perez.
Got an ugly girlfriend. Ugly girlfriend means no confidence.
You guys are talking the same old nonsense like we're looking for Fabio. We got to think differently.
Who's Fabio?
The movie Moneyball tells the story of how one team revolutionised the way players are chosen to play Major League Baseball. Where recruiters traditionally placed a high value on attributes like speed and build as pointers to what a player might one day become, the Oakland Athletics began drafting its players based almost exclusively on their current stats.
We are card counters at the blackjack table. We're going to turn the odds on the casino.
We feel that we go into this draft really well prepared to make good decisions.
St Kilda's new coach, Scott Watters, is looking forward to his first AFL national draft. Confident in the work the club's recruiting department began long before his appointment.
If you realise the hours that go into it from a recruiting department point of view, you'd be staggered.
But despite all that work, like every other year, players who look good on paper will be overlooked, judged for one reason or another not to fit the mould.
On our books at Essentially, we have Brian Lake, who's turned into an All-Australian fullback. He wasn't picked up as an 18-year-old. We've got Michael Barlow, who was the AFLPA player Rookie of the Year a couple of years ago in his first season, and he's turning into a premier midfield in the competition as well. He was overlooked in three drafts.
And like every other year, clubs will live to regret some of their choices.
Sam Mitchell probably spent 5 years trying to get a gig on an AFL list, as did Nick Maxwell.
Best known for supplying the match stats used by Supercoach and other fantasy leagues, Champion Data's been collating stats on potential draft picks for the past 7 years. Next year it will supply more than 1,000 hours of recruiting vision to AFL clubs.
As time goes by, we will have better quality data on all the players that will be selected, and then we will be in more of a Moneyball situation where you are comparing apples with apples across more levels.
Greg Planner says if good stats had been available, players like Michael Barlow, who struggled to get picked up but now ranks consistently highly for Fremantle, might have been given a chance earlier on.
Given that they didn't have the numbers or the time-coded vision to back their decisions.
People felt that he had an awkward running style, which is now probably what most people like about him, that he's noticeable on the football field. He's got an awkward gait, as it was described to me, and a couple of times his kicking was questioned. He did turn over the ball a couple of times, but the fact was he was getting it 30, 35 plus times a game pretty regularly.
Player agent Marty Pask says with Greater Western Sydney holding so many first-round picks, this year's draft could throw up some surprises.
We all safely assume the top 20, but I suspect tonight there'll be a lot of interesting selections once we get to about pick 30 onwards.
So who are this year's Moneyball draft picks?
2 players come to mind in that respect. This year's Lachlan Fairley from the Western Jets, who was also eligible last year. He played the majority of the games for the TAC Cup this year, had really good numbers, but hasn't been spoken about in any of the profiling or whatnot we've heard over the last couple of weeks. Another one is Damien Mosquiti from the Oakley Chargers. He is also an overage player, so played TAC Cup last year and played again this year. Held his own again this year and has had really good numbers.
And then there's the one player everyone knows can play, but is still only an outside chance to hear his name called.
Fev's had a fantastic season in the VFL and he does perform. And he's performed well at AFL level and he's performed well at VFL level. So statistically, he's been fantastic.
There's no reason why he couldn't be rookied and paid a minimal wage, come onto a senior list when a player's injured or something like that, given that you will know he will kick goals and can play and cut it at this level. So probably never say never. If you wanted a good Moneyball pick, he would be one, but you'd probably be sticking your neck out a bit.